This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, today we are changing an air conditioner. So this is a 15-ton kitchen AC. We got the new unit set, and now it's just time to start assembling, putting things together, putting on the earthquake straps, and just kind of working our way through. We're having to redo a few things because nothing ever completely lines up, but they come with a disconnect switch. So the gas line, we're trying to decide what we're going to do with that, remove some things. Electrical, yeah, just an interesting, fun mess we got to deal with today. So I'm hooking up this convenience receptacle. When I do this, just the little things, I like to put just a single wrap of tape around it, so that way when you're troubleshooting, you can pull the receptacle out hot and not worry about it, you know, shorting or anything. Try our best to make everything look nice, you know, within reason. I like it to look clean, zip tight, wires to the wall, the stat wires zip tied to the wall. Does it make it work better? No, but it makes it easier to troubleshoot and it just looks nicer, right? Receptacles in, all is well, so we're just moving on to the gas line and everything else. We got controls, power turned on, we're all wired in right here. We're just disconnected so that way the thermostat doesn't tell it to turn on until we do a proper startup. Unit needs to be programmed with the Core app. Gas line's all done, no leaks. We're just taping it so we can paint it. And then we got to do the drain over here. We're getting ready to do that right now. So we're kind of wrapping it up. We got the earthquake straps or whatever, seismic straps, hurricane straps, whatever you want to call those, put on. Everything else is looking good over here. Economizers put together, silly hail guards are in. This sounds healthy. I'm gonna bring that to their attention. Everything's all put together over here. Still got to balance it and stuff too, because we're gonna have to do some work with the economizers, that kind of stuff. Yeah, everything's looking good. I like that they come with pleated filters. We wired in a when you wire these units up, they have discharge air sensors running downstairs in the old one, so we wired that into the board. We intercepted the discharge air sensor on the unit, so now it's using the discharge air sensor 10 feet down in the duct. So we just grabbed the wires back up in here, they're back here. We intercepted them and then ran them down on this thermostat wire, and it's going to that orange discharge air sensor down there. One thing I will say, we haven't seen this problem yet, but on the last unit that we did a startup with the Core controller, we called tech support because we instantly went off on a drive fault. and we tested everything, couldn't find anything wrong, blower, everything. Turns out that at the factory, they're running from the drive. They have a comm line that goes through each of the inducer boards before it goes back up to the unit. And they had them crisscross from the factory. When we called tech support goes, "Is it this fault?" And we said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Go right to this board right here." And we had to interchange some wires and refix some stuff. So keep that in mind. If you have an immediate drive fault, you got to look at the wiring. I don't know why they daisy chain through these units. In my opinion, what they should have done was had one comm line go into the board, and then a comm line go into the board, and then a comm line go into the board. That way you're not reliant on the correct sequence. But whatever, you know, the powers that be figured it would be cheaper to do it that way probably. So we plan on painting all that. There's no leaks on the gas line. It's been energized. The valve's been open for a while, we made sure. So we'll paint all that black. We taped up the unit. We're waiting on one more T. Someone's at the supply house right now getting one, but this is our drain. We're gonna put unions on both sides. So that's it. They're gonna do the startup. We'll come and follow up. But so far it looks good. Everything's powered. We already checked the phase rotation. We're ready to just hook up with our app and program the unit. All right, it is the next day. I let the guys finish the startup, or the cooling startup of this unit yesterday. So they finished piping the gas line, painted it, did the drain line, painted it, and then started up the cooling. And today I'm here just to double check the parameters, make sure everything's good, and then start up the heat. So overall, just a basic Lennox unit, no big deal. We like to do the trap like this. This is not soldered right here, so you can pull this if you want to clean out the drain line straight through. So you can clean the trap, or you can completely remove the trap, union, and then you can clean down into the building. So we really like to do that just because it makes cleaning easier. I always like to check after startup how dirty the filters are. Looks like the outside air damper is open like it should be. That's good. We have these units set up for minimum outside air damper. So we reconfigure the board so that way it doesn't act as a modulating economizer. It just acts as a minimum outside air damper because of a very interesting situation that this particular restaurant has, in that they don't have any makeup air units, and they used to have variable speed hoods that would slow down and speed up, but they don't anymore. So now they have fixed speed hoods that run at full capacity. They pull too much air because these exhaust fans are not belt drive, they're direct drive motors. So now they have conventional motor starters and they just run at 100%. With that being said, when they had the variable speed hood system, it would be air balanced at low speed. So high speed would just be extra, right? So to make life easier, when they bypassed all that, we set up all the ACs as minimum outside air dampers because the air balance is too difficult to have a variable economizer, because they don't have legitimate, there's a lot of factors into this, right? You could make it work with a normal economizer, but they don't have legitimate economizers. They don't have double dampers on all of them. So some of them, it's just an outside air damper, so it's hard to get the right amount of air. In a perfect world, if they had, and I don't sell them the equipment, they buy it themselves, but in a perfect world, if they bought the economizers that had exhaust fans, that would be a little bit easier because you can turn on the exhaust fans and adjust the airflow that way. It's a whole thing, but regardless, we run these units as minimum outside air dampers. So that is good that it's set up that way. Overall, the unit looks good. Not a huge fan of these hail guards here in Southern California where we don't really have hail, but the customer ordered them, so we leave them on. As far as in here, open this up, see what's going on. I love having hinged doors. It makes your life so much easier. They even got fancy and painted the gas line all the way into here, so that's cool. Minimal mess, so that's sweet. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Now this is the core controller, so we got to hook up to that. Indoor blower motor's running. Yeah, everything's right. So the way we have it set up with the hood system is, regardless of a thermostat call, when they turn on the exhaust fans, I built it into the controls package that I designed, that it turns all the ACs into occupied mode. So we get an occupied signal and it turns on the indoor fans. So that way, even if it's not start time, so like for instance, the kitchen AC starts at 7 a.m., but the other ACs start at like 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. But the moment the kitchen AC starts, because of the air balance situation, we need all the indoor blower motors on all the ACs on, but we don't necessarily need cooling on. right? So the thermostats control the cooling with their schedule, but the controls package that we have for the hood system puts every AC into occupied mode and turns on the indoor fans for air balance reasons. When these ACs go into occupied mode, they're programmed to open the economizers to the minimum outside air position, and obviously we have a fan signal too. So regardless of heating or cooling, the fan will be on when the exhaust fans are on, and the ACs will all be occupied. So just, you know, interesting way that we have them set up. So at this point, I'm gonna log into the Core app, and then we're gonna get set up to set the gas pressure on the gas valves and fire up the heater. All right, I am zeroed out on my manometers. I'm running 2 manometers, so we don't care about the differential. We're just looking at the 2 different gas valves. We're on the test ports. We've got the adjustment screws taken out so that way we can adjust it accordingly. I'm logged into the Core app, so we're now connected, and we're gonna go ahead and start test on heating stage 1. There we go, continue. And let's have a look at what goes on here. Gas valve should be on. Give it a second. It's got to clear the air out of the lines, and then obviously turn everything on. So it's just doing 1, so that's correct. It's just this one right here. And it says that it's in test mode up there, so that's good. Okay, so that should be low fire. It's allowed to run 1.6 on low fire, and we're running 1.72, so we're gonna let it burn off for a few minutes. I also informed the customer that they're gonna get a funny smell downstairs, and I had them call their fire alarm company to put their fire alarm in test for 6 hours. So that's plenty of time for me to do the heat startup. And we're just gonna let this burn off for a minute, and then we can start adjusting things. It has been enough time. So this guy right here tells you low fire right here, high fire right here. So we should be able to adjust this one, get it down just slightly. See what that did. There we go, went a little bit. Just baby incremental changes just to make sure. So all that I can do is set gas pressure and check temporize and all that stuff, but just basically just setting gas pressure. I do appreciate that it gives you temperatures right here, so that's really nice. Blower speed's at 100% like it should be, so we're just about there. Go a little bit more. That's gonna be about where it should be. Let's see if it makes the change, registers it. We're at like 1.62. We're splitting hairs at this point. I mean, might just go just a hair more. There we go. Let's see what that does. Okay, that's about it, 1.61. So I'm gonna let it burn off for a minute, and then we're going to turn on the next stages. They give you the ability to do 4 stages on this guy. So, and the logic, this is only a 2-stage thermostat, but the Core controller controls the logic as to when to go high fire, low fire, all that good stuff. One thing that I do like, and I just figured out, when I did stage 1, it just ran 1. When I did stage 2, it did both. So my logic tells me that, and that was on low fire. If I do stage 4, theory is that it should be high fire on both. And I like that because then I can just adjust them both at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and do stage 4, and let's hope that both of them start up. Manometers are zeroed out. You gotta really watch that with these field piece job link manometers. They drift, so zero them both out before. Yeah, sounds like this one just inducer and this one. So yeah, in theory, both of them should come on with stage 4. And then this one is gonna be high fire, so we're gonna let this one really burn off as soon as they fire. But yeah, it's funny because I actually left, I have a dual part manometer, and one of our other technicians borrowed it, and then I forgot about it. And I came to do this startup, and I was like, oh no, but luckily I had my job link manometers, and I had at the same time the little brass fittings right here in my bag. I keep my probes all in this bag, and I had 2 of those brass fittings because I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? But all right, so we're gonna let it run for a minute, but gas pressure is a little high on one of them and a little short on the other one, so it's not too bad. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, this is the right one, this is the left one, I think. So if I go to high fire and turn it, we'll adjust it real quick. All right, so yeah, let's adjust high fire on this one. I think this is the right one. We want to turn it up just a little bit. Let's see if 3.53 goes up. Oh, it went down. Okay, so we want to go the other direction because 3.71 is there. If we can get it somewhat close to the 3.69 on the other one, again, we're not trying to get too crazy with this. So I'm just slowly adjusting it, getting us closer to the 3.71 mark. You know, I kind of mentioned in another video, like, I don't have a combustion analyzer. If I had a combustion analyzer, you could put it on this unit, but really, I mean, there's not much you're going to adjust on these besides gas pressure. You know, because there's no way to add more air. I mean, the combustion process, as long as the heat exchanger is good, I don't see the point in putting a combustion analyzer. But let me know in the comments, do you think it's beneficial to use a combustion analyzer on a new startup? I'm really curious what the logic is and what combustion analyzer is good for a new startup, you know? I mean, there's all kinds of ones, different ones, and I know nothing about combustion analyzers because we don't know what cold is here in California. So let's see. So we've been running for a little bit. Gas pressure is pretty good. I'm not going to go too much further from that. Everything's good. Cross our fingers. We didn't set off any smoke detectors because the unit's still running. Let's see. We have a temp rise of what? 107 minus 79. What is that? I had to bust out my calculator because I wasn't about to math this early in the morning. So 28-degree temp rise. What are they calling for on here? Let's see, heating data, 15 to 45, temperature rise, maximum, minimum. So it's in the line, I'm not too worried about that. Gas supply pressure and then manifold pressure, we're under 2,000 feet. So 3.71 to 1.6. So this guy's doing great. I'm happy with this. I'm probably cooking them out of the kitchen right now because it's not very hot outside, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the test off. So we stopped it. Everything's still moving, the inducer motors, everything's good with that. You can see I kind of talked about it earlier in the video. We do our best, I mean, you know, to kind of clean up the wiring and stuff. It's not perfect, you know. I'm not gonna claim to be the best technician in the world or anything, but I just try to keep it somewhat nice. And the little ends, like I purposely leave them kind of sticking out a little bit because in case you need to jump it out, it makes it a little bit easier. I know some people are like, be cautious, you just got to make sure that the wires are separated and they're not going to touch or anything, but it does help to have them separated. I'm not a huge fan of piercing or splitting the line down here because that just leads to problems. But yeah, everything else looks pretty darn good. So inducers both just turned off. So that's good. I would not doubt in the slightest bit that we get a call for cooling here in a minute because right now, I know it's hard for you guys to see, but we only have G and OCP. So using the app, it gives you a lot of great information for programming and adjustments and stuff. So I do appreciate that. Discharge temperature is down in the ductwork because I mentioned earlier that I'm using the remote discharge air sensor that's ran, you know, 15 feet down in the supply ductwork. So we tied into that and I just cut the wires and spliced them back here. I'm sure if I really got into the weeds, I probably could have put the discharge air sensor like right in here or something and reprogrammed the unit to look at that, but I didn't. So, you know, I'm probably wrong about that, but that's fine. Okay. So just gonna go through the app and check a few more things, look at alarms, make sure there's no real alarms. I think that, oh yeah, they did have some alarms when they were test firing the unit, but they got them all to clear and everything. So yeah, that's all good. Everything's cool with that. So we're gonna go ahead and clear all that. That's just from startup. Yeah, everything else is pretty user-friendly. So this app is really cool. You just gotta be careful. If you log into this app, you can make some serious changes to this unit. So you don't wanna do that unless you really know what's going on. But that's gonna be it. We're gonna wrap this one up and I'm gonna tell the customer to keep an eye on it.
So this started in the summer. We actually lost the first stage compressor on the old unit. The old unit had a grounded compressor and we talked to the customer. It also had multiple leaks in the evaporator coil. I don't have film footage because another technician had diagnosed it, but it was just time to replace. It was an old R22 unit from probably 2004-ish, somewhere in there. So customer approved the replacement. They ordered it, and it took a long time to get it because obviously it's December now. This probably happened back in May or something like that. So took them a while. And then actually what had happened too was at about the same time, they lost another AC at another one of their locations, and they actually delivered, or they were getting ready to deliver the unit to this location about a month ago. And we actually intercepted it and took it to another restaurant that needed it a little bit more urgently because it had a bad circuit board at the other restaurant, multiple leaks, and it was just nothing but problems. So we took the original unit for this restaurant to the other location, and then here we are 2 months later, or a month or whatever it is, and we finally got the other unit, right? So we came back out, you saw, lifted the old one off, put the new one on, and then just started it up. Now, we do a lot of these, so it's kind of a cookie cutter thing, but you always got to be prepared, right? Notice that in the very beginning of the video, I can't remember if I left it in or not, when we lifted the unit off, we didn't tape the curb. And the reason why we didn't tape the curb was because they had like their own curb tape still existing. It wasn't curb tape though. It was like insulation that they doubled up and like glued down to the curb itself. So that was perfect. We didn't see the need to have to do any more curb tape or anything because it still had an insulation barrier when the unit sat down. So we were able to do that. We set the unit down, we hooked everything back up, and then we just did the startup. Now we're a little bit slower right now. So, we've got quite a few of these projects that we've been working on, and I'm trying to let the guys get their hours and stay as busy as possible. So I'm a little more hands-off, allowing them to do startup and hooking things up. I just came back because they weren't able to start up the heat the first day because it was just too late in the day, and we don't want to risk setting off duct detectors, smoke detectors when there's customers in the building if we don't have to. And oftentimes when you start up these units, there's always a possibility that the oils that's on the heat exchangers is going to burn off and make a smoky smell down in the restaurant. Today, I came back this morning. This video was actually edited today, or finished today, 12/18, and I got home and I edited it down. But I went back this morning, immediately put the system in fire alarm test, and then started it up before customers got in the building. That way, there's just no potential of setting off the audible fire alarm. Now, we had the system in test even yesterday when we were there, but I still didn't. When you put a system in test, all that does most of the time, depending on the location, but with these restaurants with their alarm systems, all that does is intercept the phone call to the fire department. So if the fire alarm goes off, it'll still set off the audible strobes and lights and flashing and all that stuff in the building. It just won't auto dial the fire department, basically. So, even though we had it in test the previous day, I just didn't want to risk setting off a fire alarm when they had customers in the building. You see, when I'm out at these locations, I'm always trying to put the customers, I'm trying to make the customers have the best experience using us as a contractor, essentially. Stuff can happen. It wouldn't have been my fault if the fire alarm went off, but still, if I can prevent it from potentially going off, why not come back the next morning like I did today and do the heat startup when there's nobody in the building except for a couple cooks, right? Then people are more prepared. There's nothing worse. Trust me, I've done it. There's nothing worse than setting off the audible fire alarm and then finding out the manager on duty doesn't know how to turn it off. But been there, done that actually a couple times. New managers, guest managers, different things like that. So, just always assume the worst. That way you can't be disappointed in a way, right? So we came back the next day. I did the startup today and everything went well. Now I actually started up heat on another one of their units too, because we had actually installed one of their dining room ACs probably back in July or August, somewhere in there too. And I'm sorry, I just thought about something right now, but we actually started that up, but I wasn't able to start the heat up because it was 112, 115 degrees outside, right? So while I was there this morning, I started up the heat on the kitchen AC, which is the one we changed, and then started up the heat on their other dining room AC. So now they've got a fully operational building. Customer was super happy. Now they order these units direct and they were pretty much built the way that they're supposed to be. So I just had to do some minor programming, some tweaking to the parameters and stuff. Actually, I didn't do that. It's really cool when you can let your employees do that kind of stuff, right? So had another technician program and start up the unit, got real familiar with it. He's done several of them. So, he was able to start it up and make sure everything was good. And then I just followed up today, verified proper operation. All was well. Everything was good. Made sure there was no gas leaks, started everything up. And like I said, all was well. So I really appreciate you making it to the end of the video. I realize that, maybe there's a few little things that you'll get from this video. Sometimes I wonder if there's enough content in the stuff that I post, because it's not like super exciting just changing a package unit, but someone that hasn't done this before, someone that hasn't seen the Core controller before, maybe they get a little something from it. So to each their own. I just try to put out what I can. So I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video as usual. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Really easy, great way to help the channel to grow. Share the channel. If you know anybody that would like the content or can benefit from the content, share it with them. It'd be great. I'd really appreciate it. There's a couple different ways to support the channel if you're interested in doing so. The easiest way is super simple. Just watch the videos from beginning to end. That really is the easiest way. It just takes a little bit of your time. Doesn't cost you a single thing, right? Besides some of your time. And I realize time is money to some people, but that is the easiest way. You can also support the channel if you're interested in doing so by donating to the channel via PayPal, which is just like you can choose the amount, donate. There's links in the show notes for all the different methods I'm about to mention. You can also support the channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships, which are just like a monthly commitment that you choose to make to the channel. If you go to my website, HVACRvideos.com, we have merchandise such as these hats right here available. We still have a few sweatshirts. We're slowly phasing those out. So when they're gone, they're gone. I think we're officially out of extra large, but we still have a few other sizes, and we have some of the really big sizes too available. We heavily discounted the sweaters. I think they're $25 with shipping in the United States, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but go to the website. You'll find out. And there's stickers available. Last but not least, or again, the website, HVACRvideos.com. Okay, last but not least, TrueTechTools.com. If you go to TrueTechTools.com, they have a great selection of tools. So if you're interested in purchasing any tools, check out TrueTech Tools, see what they have. I actually have an affiliate program set up with them. If you use my affiliate code, big picture, one word, at checkout, you get a discount on your items that you have. Now, it doesn't apply to everything, but there's a few things. It applies to the majority of the stuff, but there's a few things it doesn't apply to. But big picture, one word, that gets you the affiliate discount from me, and I get a small commission from that. So that's a great way to help support the channel also. I really do appreciate you guys making it to the end. Leave me some feedback down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Would you done something differently? Do you think that I did something incorrectly? I'm always looking for feedback. I'm always looking to grow as a technician. And if you have any advice, please give it to me. Shoot me a comment down in the YouTube comments. Feel free to shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And until next time, we will catch you on the next one.